2016, I believe.
Okay, cool.
I didn't, I'm trying to remember.
That's what we have. I just want to make sure because
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that it's changed since we were back in Jersey. I know that some of the sports have Group 5 now, so I just want to.
Yeah, football and us both have group,
Okay.
and wrestling have group 5.
Okay, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, howdy and aloha. We're here, you are there, and we greatly appreciate you tuning in to another episode of Airey Bros Radio. Tonight we're stepping back onto the mat in the short conference, and we're going belly to belly with Dan Roy from Southern Regional High School. But before we get rolling, you know the drill. Make sure you subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, drop a comment, every review, and share helps us grow and give back to the sport we love. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And as always, this episode is fueled by CS Instant Coffee and Black Sheep Endurance Coaching. And as always, let's not forget why we're doing this over here at Airey Bros. We're here to shine a light on the programs and coaches we wish we had access to coming up. If you or someone you know is looking for a right fit at the next level, please share this with them. On to our guest, Coach Dan Roy is joining us, as I mentioned, from Southern Regional. He's been at Southern for 22 years, including the last 6 as the head coach, and he's amassed a 110-9 record. He was the 2023 New Jersey State Coach of the Year and the NWCA Section 1 Coach of the Year. He's led Southern to 6 group state titles, Group 4 in 2005, and from 2016, 2019, 2020, 2023, 2024, and 2025, they have won the Group 5 state title. He's also coached 3 state champs and had 8 state finalists in the last 6 seasons. Without further ado, Coach Dan Roy, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you with us this evening. We do greatly appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor. Looking forward to catching up with you and reconnecting. Coach, before we get rocking and rolling, if you have anything you'd like to plug or promote, if you have any camps or clinics coming up, anything on social media, anywhere you want us to send the fans to find you or the program, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so we have our Facebook site, and that's Southern Regional Rams Wrestling. And we also have our Instagram, which is SR Rams Wrestling. So those are the 2 things we primarily use. We usually have, we have a parent that's in charge of that, and then she puts everything out, our schedule, highlights, anything that we're doing with the team, fundraising, all that kind of stuff. So that she does a really great job with that. So that's all out there. We are having our golf outing next week, the Kyle Casaletto Memorial Golf Outing let me see. I know we used to have it at Sea Oaks. It's at Ocean Acres Golf Course. It's on Friday, June 6th, next week. And also, we do have a camp coming up in July. We have Frank Molinaro coming down to our place from Arizona State. He's going to bring one of the Arizona State guys with him. And we do that July 7th, 8th, and 9th at Southern. Okay. From 9 a.m. to 12 for 3 days.
Awesome. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes for you as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Tell Frank the Tank we said what's up too.
Yeah, I will.
And how's your golf game, Coach? We found out as we've been doing this more and more that wrestling coaches really do enjoy golfing. So how is your game? Are you the best coach at Southern?
The best at golf? Out of the coaches at Southern?
Out of the wrestling coaches.
Wrestling coach? I'm pretty good with the driver. My short games needs a lot of work.
Okay.
I don't play enough, man. But I do like to play. I'm super competitive, but talking about Frank, I know he's very good at golf.
Is he?
Yeah, he's very good at golf. Yeah, he's very competitive with that. But I play with my brothers all the time. I'm not the best of my brothers. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay. Who's the best brother?
I believe Andy's the best one out of us, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But it's just fun, I try not to be too competitive with it.
I feel like that's hard for you.
a little bit.
I feel like
you can't get upset with something you don't put a lot of time into.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I try to just roll with it,
Has there ever been any hand fighting between the Roy brothers on a golf course?
Close.
Very close. Well, the only reason I ask is because the only fist fights that Jimmy and I have been in the last 10 years have been between one another. So we know how that goes sometimes. It gets things get a little serious, a little quick. So, Dan, most important question we're going to ask you this evening, I'm pretty sure we already know the answer. Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Oh, pork roll.
That's what we thought. What did you have a favorite spot growing up in Wall?
I like to actually. We spent a lot of time in Belmar.
Yeah.
Belmar's right there. So I mean, we grew up in West Belmar, and Belmar Beach. Most of my family's from Monmouth County, so Belmar was definitely like the kind of the center where everyone hung out. My grandparents were across the bridge in Neptune City, so we spent a lot of time over there. So literally, very close to Wall. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, Coach, we like to do a little bit of through line, let our audience know how we know our guest.
Sure.
And so, with you, you were at Sure Thing when I was in high school. You were there running practices in the summer with, I believe, Andy and Nick. You'd always bring the intensity. And as a kid, maybe in the summer, I didn't appreciate it as much as I would now. But that's how, you were there, I believe, my junior and senior year towards the end. And then we wanted to have you on. We wanted to highlight Southern because Rich and I, we grew up down there. Our mom was a principal at the middle school. We had our aunt was a principal at the high school at one moment. And Uncle Jack worked with Tabby. And growing up, I went to probably more Southern matches than I did Point Borough matches. It might have been close, but we went to all the summer parties. Coach Wilhelm, he was, I believe my mom helped him when he was getting in. They were gym teachers together. So always knew the program, always rooted for Southern, and always thought it was awesome how Southern used to have all the teachers from high school and middle school used to go and support the kids. And I kind of lucked out because they all knew me. So I had extra people to cheer for me because the whole Southern crew was there. And I didn't realize till I got in high school that most high schools didn't have their whole staff coming out and supporting the kids. So I always thought that was awesome. And we wanted to highlight the program because we know how special it is.
I really appreciate that, guys.
And we also love that you guys used to have team jackets that were Carhartt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those were great jackets.
Yeah, no doubt.
Coach.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I'll take it, Rich. I'm sorry, sir.
No, you're good.
So we like to ask all our coaches how they got involved in wrestling. I think you had 4 brothers. You guys were all stud wrestlers. How did you get started wrestling?
Well, I started a little bit later. My brothers did. I started in 6th grade. My dad did it in high school, so I asked him about it, and I went out for the team. But I'd say I started it out for all of them because I started wrestling, and then all my brothers started wrestling. So we all went to Wall High School. We were very close. I think wrestling had a lot to do with that because we were always competing with each other, and wrestling was a big part of that. And always trying to help each other through it. So again, I think at one point when I was a senior in high school, my brother Steve and my brother Andy were in the lineup. And then when my brother Steve was a senior, my brother Andy, my brother Nick were all in the lineup. So there were 3 Ruys in the lineup twice. And then obviously, Nick and Andy were together for a couple of years before, Nick became a senior. But so again, we grew up in Wall. We had a lot of people that helped us out. Like one thing I want to say is we didn't have a ton of money growing up, and the wrestling community helped us. My middle school coach helped us. Our high school coach helped us, taking us places, all that kind of stuff. So that kind of made me want to help kids because I was helped. And anytime there's a kid in need, I don't even hesitate. I'm there. I try to be there for them as much as possible. So then, after I was done at Wall, I went to East Stroudsburg University, wrestled there. So I redshirted and then I wrestled 4 years on the team. I was a starter for 4 years there. And, I had a good career. I had a good career there. I placed in the IWA. I won the East Stroudsburg Open, PSAC, placed there a couple times. I was able to, be a coach there the next year. When I graduated, I was able to be a grad assistant for a year, which really helped me out a lot. I got to work with a lot of the college guys and still wrestle and kind of see how that all was. but I think, I didn't achieve the goals I wanted to as a wrestler. Like I had an okay career, but I mean, I just wanted to help those guys. I just wanted to keep wrestling and helping those guys and coach. So I majored in phys ed, health and phys ed at East Stroudsburg. And then coming out, I applied for a bunch of jobs coming out of school because I planned on, if I didn't get a teaching job, I was going to go back and help out at Stroudsburg another year. So one of the jobs I applied for was Southern Regional, and my alma mater, Wall, was another one, and a couple others. But I was blessed that I got hired at Southern, and from there it's just been history. I got to work with some great coaches. When I went into Southern, it was John Stout was the head coach. Jerry Tabacino was the former head coach who Tab took that program and put it at another level. He took over in the late 80s, early 90s. And then from there, John took it over. And I think it was maybe I went to Southern in 2023, 2024 was my first season there. And I think we just meshed really well. Me, Tab, and John were all on the staff. And, I learned a lot from, two great coaches there who know a lot about the sport. And, I think that really helped me develop into the coach I am today, because, if I would have just been thrown out there and took a head job quickly, I don't, there would have been a lot of, bumps in the road, and you learn by making mistakes. But I mean, when you're bouncing things off guys like that, when you're talking to them about certain things, and you're a part of the success, and you're a part of the decision making, and you're a part of the training, and it's just great. So I went in from being mostly a guy that's just mostly rolling with the guys, just wrestling live with all these guys, to more looking at lineups, right? And just trying to get our best lineup on the mat. Because one thing Southern always does, we've always been good at putting our best lineup on the mat, bringing guys down a weight, putting guys up a weight, inserting guys that no one knows who they are, right? And those guys are tough, and no one knows. There are guys that have been, no one knows who they are, and their junior year they're a region champ, right? Or they place in the state as a senior, and they're not, don't have the accolades of some of the other high rollers that have come through. So and I don't want to get too much off topic. I know you asked the question about the wrestling career, but I just think that one thing that we've been really good at getting those kids to the next level, whether it be a kid that isn't good, get them the average next, to good. And then the good guys, to elite. We've had some great elite wrestlers that come through. So.
Yeah. And I can remember, I graduated high school in 94. So I got to see kind of the rise of Tabby and what they were doing. I think it was either 90 or 91. They had 4 or 5 Region 6 champs. It was Eddie Bronsdorf, Jack Mangione. They had an upper weight, Ed Noller, I think his name might have been. But that's when it started. And I wasn't great. I mean, I placed at Regions twice, but I didn't have that many losses. But 2 of my losses came to Southern kids. And that was because of, Tabby is a great coach. And the other thing I think Southern's really good at is seeking out and finding tough competition.
I agree.
Yeah, you mentioned how you have a kid who maybe no one's ever heard of, and then comes out as a junior and wins a region championships. But you also have kids that maybe have just above 500 records and then go on these crazy runs. And it's
right.
Well, they were at Powerade, they wrestled this team, they wrestled that team,
Exactly.
they were at the Beast. So it's not like they were just losing to slouches. They were getting great competition. And I've talked to a lot of coaches where they say, I'm not really doing my job if I don't find you losses.
Yep.
And I think you guys have done an amazing job over the years of being able to do that and going to Powerade and some of those other tournaments. And come the end of the season, you always know that Southern kids are going to be ready to wrestle and are going to be able to wrestle hard.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean that you got to get them prepared for the end of the year, because that's the end result. So, our goal every year is to win a group title, and then we're looking to get as many guys to states as possible. and girls. I mean, because we have girls that wrestle now, and we've had some success with our program. We've had some place winners there. So and then get as many guys on the podium as possible. But that comes with, you said, competition. So, when I was lucky enough that, I was here at Southern, and as a young coach, I saw that, and they never shied away from wrestling anybody. And even when John first started taking the team to like Power 8, we did that a couple of years. We did Beast of the East. We did Escape the Rock. And you kind of have to see the team you have. It kind of changes every year. You have to kind of get your schedule. Like, we don't try to downplay the schedule or anything like that, but we know, like, we have to make it right. It can't be it's got to be hard, but it can't be like you're beating these guys up every week. If you especially if you got a younger team, they kind of have to learn. But we've been fortunate enough the last 6 years that we've been able to really put up the schedule, get the schedule pretty tough. And I know, in 2023, 2024, we wrestled Del Barton. We wrestled CBA. Like last year, they changed the conference, and now now with we're in the A conference. So now it's CBA, St. John Vianney, Rumson, Brick Moral, and us. And if you look at the rankings, I believe it was between all those teams in the conference, it was number 4, the number 5, the number 6, the number 7, and the number 15 in the state, all in the same conference. And every single state champ from the Shore came from that conference, and a lot of the state place winners. But like I said, like you said before, Powerade, we've been going. Escape the Rock, we've been going. And then even the Robin Leff Invitational, our first tournament of the season, that's become the best, I believe, the toughest regular season tournament in New Jersey. We got 22 teams in there. Blair came last year. They brought their ones. You have, Paramus Catholic. Phillipsburg's coming next year. Delsey goes. A lot of tough teams are there. So again, those guys get to see that in the beginning, and then you have some duels, and then over Christmas, obviously, you're wrestling at the Powerade, but then I try to take guys that are not at the level, and I take them to another varsity tournament, so I get them varsity matches, because we have guys that are too good. They're not JV guys, so they're varsity level guys. They would be varsity on other teams, but just to keep them. I don't have to take the whole team to the Powerade. I can go to another varsity tournament and get them varsity matches, because at the end of the year, you get points for your seeding. So I try to get those guys criteria, especially if they're young freshmen. But I try to mimic it. So we have, you're in that environment and you have those tough matches. And like you said, taking losses is good at the beginning of the year. You'd rather take a loss in the beginning of the year than take a loss at the end of the year. So you want to make sure that they're ready to go in the state tournament, because I believe the New Jersey State Tournament is one of the biggest stages in the country for high school wrestling, because of just how it is. It's one state champion, it's one state tournament, and then just being in Atlantic City, it's just the environment. It's just someone sees those lights and they could freeze.
Yeah.
But if you're in those situations, it's like you've been there before.
Coach, what's the secret having that tough schedule? Obviously, you're going to have a kid that can make it to the States, but at some point in the season, he might have 4 losses in a row, 5 in a row. How do you keep kids kind of locked in when they have those slumps, and getting them ready, getting them sharp for the goal at the end of the season?
I mean, like you said, you just have to explain to them, listen, what matters at the end of the year, right? So you have to watch film. You have to evaluate what they're doing, and then you need to work on it. You just need to stay positive. You just need to stay positive. It's going to come. It's going to come. Just being negative is not going to work. Being positive about everything, and just we try to say, all right, let's take a look at the situation. Why you lost. What's the reason why? Did you get tight? Did you not attack? Did you did you not know a specific position, what to do? So you need to drill that position a lot and get good at it. And, and then, it's great to take a loss to somebody at the beginning of the season, because you can break down the film and you can have a strategy going in next time you wrestle them. So, okay, so we get a strategy together and we go out there and we try to execute the strategy, try to beat that person. And I do think that I feel that we peak at the end of the year. And I feel like we're in great shape always. And I feel like, if you're going to wrestle one of our guys, third period, we're going to be still coming at you. And, I just tell these guys, you got to wrestle the full 6 minutes or 8 minutes, whatever it is, if it's double overtime, whatever it is. But, just staying positive and just evaluating it, and keep working, getting better every day. Just try to keep getting better.
So you said when you first came in, you were a practice partner as an assistant. You were helping the guys out, and now that role has obviously changed. How has that role changed since you've become the head coach?
Well, it's changed. I'm still on the mat. I still get on the mat as much as possible. I do show a lot of the techniques still. I mean, I have great assistants. I got Danny Hall, who was a wrestler who wrestled for Southern. He's my assistant. Luke Lano is there. Nick Herring, who's a couple-time region champ from Middletown South, and now he went to TC&J, and he's been great at. We got Dean Helstowski there, who was a brick wrestler, who was a region champion. He teaches in the school, and then we have a bunch of guys that come in and volunteer too. We always have alumni that want to come back and wrestle, and then just guys from college or whatever that might be. So I still get on the mat, not as much as I used to, because you need to look at and see what's going on with everybody on the team. I try to you need to help everybody. Obviously, if someone's doing something wrong, you need to address it, or maybe I'll look at these guys today mostly, and then I'll move over to the upper weights or what it might be. But we do have guys that are upper weight coaches also. Guy who went to TC&J that's been coached, Russ Pascal. He's a volunteer too. He comes in. He's an upper weight guy. So I mean, that's just some of the guys that we have coming in and help. So it really helps having enough guys to help you and great coaches below you to fill those roles. And if I don't have someone for somebody, I'll find it. I'll figure it out. But I guess I can see. I can watch these guys more technique wise, just as a whole, and then obviously if something stands out in a match and we're doing something wrong, and we can address it, and I feel like that's one of the big strengths of us. Like if there's something going on as far as we're not doing something correctly, like we're going to address that immediately, and we're going to drill it over and over and over again until they get it. So.
Coach, with the way the wrestling clubs are in New Jersey, oftentimes the feeder programs sometimes get overlooked. But Southern is, Stafford Wrestling Club has always been a big part of that. Is that still going strong? And how, you got the coaches, the continuity with the middle school coaches as well?
Yeah, it is. I mean, for years, and he's still part of it. It was Smitty, Bob Smith, and he's been a part of the rec program, and he started the rec program. I mean, I'm going to say almost 40 years ago. He's been doing that, or he's been coaching for at least 40 years. But it's the rec program. He's been in charge of the rec since it started. Him and Ferguson started that years ago, and he's never had a kid in the program. He's never had a kid in the program. He did it for free and just cared about the kids. And, we've been able to, over the years, been able to put other people in there, help him out and stuff. But, as he's getting a little bit older, he's still he's still there, oversees it. But, a couple of guys that we have in there, like Terrence Clendenin, who was on my staff, and he's a state champ, Tomser North, went to Lehigh, very involved in the youth. But I did have him on my staff for quite a few years when I took over. But his role was also with the rec. He's taken more of a role with the rec. Another guy that moved to town is Zach Cunliffe from Howell. So his kids are coming up, going to wrestle for us eventually. He's helping out there. Mark Maestri is another guy. Who's Tom's River guy. Who's a couple times state place winner. And we have a lot of fathers that have wrestled. So, I mean, we have it. And, Zach Wilhelm is another one. Zach helps us out in the off season a lot. also comes in. He was a 2-time All-American from Stevens Tech. But, he comes in, he helps out with the rec too. And then the way we've structured it is like we try to have 2 different classes going. So we'll have the elite, like the better kids, and then we'll have the beginner class. So these guys aren't getting lost. And we try to slow it down for the other kid, for the beginner kids, and just try to make it fun for these guys. So, I mean, I'm in direct contact with the rec coaches. I'm in direct contact with my middle school coaches. It comes up all the way up to the middle school too. Like Kelly Frischman, who went to Southern, is the head coach there. Josh Law. And then they had Dan Lynch on staff, another wrestler, another guy that wrestled for me. They do a great job at middle school level. So I'm in contact constantly with these guys. Like I talk, I talk to the head rec guys in the off season. I'll go in there, check out rec practice. Same thing with the middle school. I'm talking to them always. So I always know who's coming up, and I know these families since they're young. And I think that's very crucial to making sure that, we don't lose kids. Like we try to we have something for everyone. And we have that relationship going. And then they come to our matches and they see the varsity. Like we'll have like Stafford rec night, and they'll all come. All the rec kids will come to the match, and we'll highlight them. We'll bring them out on the mat and everything like that. And, but you got a lot, you have a lot of fans in town. It's a community. I'll go to the supermarket. I'll run into people I don't even know. Then they've been fans for years and they just come to the matches. Older people, I meet for the first time. How are we going to do this year? How are we going to be, talking about the lineups, all these things. So you got a community behind the program. And then, you have a lot of support, from the top down, from the upper administration, all the way to our athletic director, Chuck Donahue Jr., who does a great job and just does a great job for all athletics in that school. But, I couldn't do as much as I do now without him. But again, it's an army of people, the parents, the community, everyone.
Yeah, the community is unmatched. Jimmy and I talk about this all the time where, we've been different parts of the country, different schools, different programs. And as Jimmy was mentioning earlier in the beginning, there's nowhere I've ever been where, like you said, the staff comes out, supports, whether it's football, wrestling, the gym is packed and everyone wants to know how you did the next day. I've never seen anything like it. So it's phenomenal. And I would imagine
cool as a kid. If kids walking in the hallway and they didn't even think, the teacher comes up, oh, great job last night. They're like, oh, you were there. It's great to know that people are supporting you no matter, all over the place. It's just better to be in an environment that you have support. You just feel better about what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even just the home matches, but it's the districts, it's the regions. There's even people that are teachers and faculty that are going down to Atlantic City to support. And talking about the rec, I would imagine by the time those kids do get to high school, they're so, there's such a pride in putting on that black and gold singlet that those kids have seen that for so long that they're just chomping at the bit to be a part of that and be on the varsity.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's a big thing in their lives. It means a lot to them. They go out there. They're not just wrestling for themselves. They're wrestling for their community, their family, everyone. And their friends who they've known since they were little kids. You just want to win more for them. Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned those coaching lineups, and you got some heavy hitters at the rec and the high school. And you guys, when I look through all the pictures and stuff, I always see you guys have a lot of alumni that come back and help out with the program. How do you do that? Is that just one piece of the puzzle? You mentioned the community and everything, so those kids have people pouring to them. They want to do the same.
Yeah, I just think these are people that the program has done a lot for them in their lives, and coaches or whoever that person was. It might not even be me as much. It might be one of the other coaches. It might have been Tab. It might have been John. Whatever it might be. Or even the guys that I coached and I was there for them on, and I helped them through some tough times, or helped them with college or the next thing in their lives. I mean, or they just see how much wrestling has done for their life. And you guys know, I mean, it's life lessons, and they just want to come out and be a part of it. And they just love being a part of it. Like another thing, I have 8 or 9 guys that are Stafford PD that wrestled for me. The first guy that actually started that actually got hired, that was one of my guys, was Anthony Vincent. And, he's kind of led the way. And now there's all these ex wrestlers that are Stafford PD. So they're very supportive of everything we do too. And they're big in the community. So, I mean, and if any kid wanted to go law enforcement, they would have a lot of people that would help them do that. Not saying just getting hired at Stafford, but getting hired with any kind of police work, because that's an option they can do. It's just, I mean, a lot of these guys that have come through, like, they become some of my best friends. It's just a great thing. Going to weddings and seeing how they're doing now and how they, how successful they've been. And we've had kids that had issues coming through, and we've helped them get through that. I mean, we've had kids tell us, you're the reason why I'm still alive. And that's powerful. That's very powerful. And then, the main thing is, I mean, we all try to use wrestling just as it's great to win and great to be successful and everything like that. But what it comes down to is these kids becoming good people and being good in their communities, and, and helping other people. I believe. I think that's more powerful. And I think that's more what we preach here. Winning is going to take care of itself with hard work and everything you put into it. You have people that care, and they try to help you. You want to help those people in return.
Rich, we talk about pipelines. Sounds like there's a pipeline to Stafford PD.
Yep. Yeah, I was just going to say it's probably one of the safest towns in Ocean County, if not New Jersey, with all those wrestlers. No one's trying to do anything.
Coach, you guys won a team state title this year, and
Yes.
you also had a state champ.
Yes,
how was the season? How did it start? And obviously, it ended pretty well.
Yeah, it did. I mean, coming through, talking to these guys this year, our goal was to win 3 straight, because we 3-peated this year. So it had never been done in school history in any sport. And that's something that was really big. And we talked about that for a while, because we almost did it back. We won in 19 and we won in 20, but we had COVID in 21. So if you didn't count that, we didn't have a state title, the state championship. So in 22, we were 2 points away from doing it. We lost to Phillipsburg by 2, and then they went and they beat Howell pretty good in the finals. So those kids on that team were freshmen at the time. So they all felt that, and they all saw that. So, I think that was a big learning. It was big, it's a learning experience for these guys. So coming into this year, that was our main goal. We won it the last 2 years. We want to win it again. And we had some unexpected things happen. We had a lot of injuries this year. I've had more injuries this year than I ever had. I had a kid that was third in the state, 2-time state place winner, was out for the season. Another kid that was 4th in the state last year, out for the season. I had another freshman coming in who was a starter at the time. He was out for the season. And I had another kid that was banged up, and he got through the season. He was a region champ and made it to the States, but, and we were in a really tough division. So, I mean, I feel that, we had those guys throughout the whole year. I mean, I feel we had a good shot to go undefeated, in my opinion. But again, it's not going to be perfect every year, right? We went from, the 2 years before, we were very successful. We were ranked in the country both years. And then this year we were wanted to go undefeated. That was our goal. But these guys also learned an important lesson where, nothing's going to be perfect, and, bad things happen. And then when bad things happen, you just gotta move on. You got to stay positive and keep moving on. And these kids stay positive, and they kept moving on. So we took a few losses. We took 3 losses this year. But I believe the kids kept working hard. And then what was good about it, like kids that were not we didn't see being starters this year, possibly stepped into roles, and they were able to do well. Like we had a sophomore that stepped up, we had a freshman that stepped up, we had people that stepped up in other spots. So that was good for those young guys to do that and be a part of that. But yeah, it was good. It was great. I mean, they were able to get the Rutgers again and defend the title, and make school history. So, and then we ended up the state tournament. We had 4 guys that placed, and then Wyatt Stout won it. Won the title this year, which was great for him. So that was actually the third year in a row we've had a state champion. So it was very good, very, very cool. But he did it the way he did it was in amazing fashion. He was losing 6-1 in the semis and came back and beat the kid. And then ends up getting food poisoning the next day for the finals.
Oof.
He's throwing up all morning, and pulls it together for one match and ends up beating a kid from Peaburg in double overtime. So it was great, that he was able to do that.
Is he going to school to wrestle next year?
Yes, he's going to UPenn. He's going to follow. His brother John graduated from UPenn also.
Okay.
But yeah, so he's actually going to go to Wharton School of Business.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
So he's going there. Yeah, yeah. Hayden Hochstrasser was one of the kids that got hurt this year. He was another senior. He's going to West Point. We got 2 other wrestlers there. Connor Collins is there. Eddie Hummel's there. We also have another kid that's not wrestling there, but went through our program. Alex Skipper is there. So we have like 4 guys at West Point. We've had 3 guys go to UPenn. Matt Henrich is at Virginia Tech. So, I mean, we have a couple guys that are going to Bucknell, like Bryce Manera is going to Bucknell next year. Anthony Mason committed to Bucknell. So you have some, we do a pretty good job with guys going to college, whatever level it might be. But, I just think, they have a good positive experience. And, that's another thing, I don't know if we're going to talk about the privates and the publics and anything like that, but is that what you're going to do?
Yeah.
But I mean, people say like another thing about Southern is great, got great academics, and they have a spot for wherever you are. If you're a lower level kid, they got programs for you. If you're middle of the level, if you're the top of the top, they got programs for you. So, I mean, you're looking at schools that we've had. I just mentioned we've had 3 guys at UPenn. We got 4 guys in the academy in West Point. We had Robert Woodcock that went to Air Force, graduated there. We got guys going to Stevens Tech, Virginia Tech. All these great schools. So again, like just to say, like you're going to go to a private just for academic. I'm not saying they're great academics. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I just feel like that's another reason why makes the school a great choice for people to be is the academics. Because I mean, we're just talking about wrestling, kids in the wrestling program that have gone on to great schools and they graduate and do well afterwards. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive stats. It's the guys at West Point, kids at Bucknell. Bucknell's not too shabby either.
Yeah.
Before we do get into that private public debate, I'm curious. Obviously, we're looking for a 4-peat for
Yes.
2026. How many starters you have coming back? I know it sounds like with everything we've talked about right now, the motto is we don't rebuild, we reload.
Right, exactly.
Are those injured guys going to be coming back?
No, they're all well. Yeah, the one freshman that was in the lineup, he will be back.
Okay.
But I believe we did lose quite a bit of seniors, but Cade Collins was our 106 pounder. He took 7th. He's back. Anthony Mason was going to be a senior next year. He's back. He was a state finalist and a state 4th. Attila Vigilante was a state qualifier this year. He was a region champion. He was the kid. He was a little banged up with his ankle. It was around a 16. Levi Foote is a sophomore, our 190 pounder, made the blood round this year at states, was a region champion. And then you have, freshman that stepped up was a kid, Vincent Esposito, who was 17-2. The kid Nick Dodonna, who was a region qualifier. I'm just trying to think of all the guys we have off my head here that we have coming back. But we have a good Cash McVeigh, who was a state qualifier 2 years ago. He'll be back as a junior. So again, we have a really good nucleus of kids coming back, and we have some tough freshmen next year also. We're going to be young. It's probably the youngest we've ever been that I can remember, but we're going to be good. We're going to be tough. So it's going to be fun. It's fun. You don't have as much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, expectations are still high, but it's going to be fun to watch these young kids grow, which I haven't usually get 3 freshmen in the lineup, maybe whatever that might be per class, whatever it might be, we're going to have more than that this year.
Okay.
And then we're only going to have 2 seniors in the lineup.
So future looks bright.
Unless another senior steps up.
So, Coach, talking about that public versus private, sure. I think I might be safe to say that has Southern had a top 5 team in the short conference since the 90s, right? You guys have never really dropped off, have you?
No, we haven't. We haven't dropped off. I mean, out of the top 5 of the short conference? No.
Yeah. So,
and even when Jackson, Jackson was 1 and we were 2. Stuff even when Howell and Jackson, Long Branch, we're talking about, even when they went on the run, I don't think we've dropped off out of that.
Yeah, and you coming from Law, us coming from Point, being in the top 5 of the short conference would be a pretty big thing. But for Southern, for Southern to be 5th in the short conference, they're probably not too happy.
Right.
Obviously, I don't think the private schools have hurt you guys at all. What is your thoughts on the whole public, private, and some of these super teams coming up?
I just think things have changed, and I think a lot of with kids going to privates, I feel like it has a lot to do with the clubs. Clubs are great. My brother Nick owns Triumph. So again, and I'm very supportive of all that. And, a bunch of my guys go there as they do other clubs also. Some of them go to Short Thing, some of them go to Elite. So again, it's great for wrestling because these kids are going and getting great training all year round. Because I also think there's been a shift of how sports are, because back, years ago, it was common for someone to be a three sport athlete, and that's not happening anymore. They're more like, if it's a 2-sport athlete, it's rare. They want to either focus on lacrosse or focus on football or focus on soccer or whatever it might be. So it's not, I don't think it's really just wrestling. I think it's all sports, because private training is just so much more available. But I think the clubs have a lot to do with that. I think, maybe they wrestle with their friends from other towns, and then maybe they say, oh, we're all going to go here, type of thing. I know over the last few years, CBA has made a push, and they've upped their level. St. John Vianney had a really good year this year. But it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because, sometimes it's not always the same private. Right. So, Bergen Catholic was on top for a while, St. Joe's was, Del Barton's on top now, Del and St. Joe's. So again, they're both, there's always a shift of these privates, kids moving, oh, we're going to go to this school, we're going to go to that school, and so forth. So, I think the private aspect was always there, and it's always hurt, especially those North Jersey schools, because, there's a lot of them up there. But I feel like it hasn't hurt us as much, with some of the reasons we talked about before, we are so involved in our youth. Okay. So we're like I said before, we're always I know about all the kids coming up. There's communication there with the coaches. Some of these, I'm not, some I know because I've talked to people. Some of these public schools, there's no communication with their rec. There's no communication with their middle school. Like some of these high school coaches don't. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but some of these high school coaches don't even know some of the kids coming up. Some of these kids don't even know who the head coach of their program is. So I think that's a big strength of us. And also I try to give everyone the best for them as far as their competition. So we're going to Escape the Rock. We're going to Powerade. We're doing all these things and we're wrestling a great schedule. So these guys that are elite guys, we can say, okay, well, you can go up to, private schools. We're doing the same thing. You can get the same competition with us. All right. We got a great coaching staff. We're going to get you great workout partners no matter what. We're going to find someone for you. So I think the need is met in that aspect. And if you're the middle of the road kind of guy and, you're like just, chomping on the bit for varsity, we have that for those kids too. I think we had close to 100 kids on the team this year.
Wow.
It was the most we've ever had. And it's difficult trying to balance all that. We had three different rooms going this is with the girls. So we have 2 wrestling rooms. We have the 11-12 wrestling room. We got the 9-10 wrestling room. And then we had to open up. We had them have another practice in the 9-10 cafeteria. So we have 3 different practices going on at the same exact time. So a lot of coordination has to happen. So we need coaches, to make sure all these kids get the best coaching possible. And then you look at, we go to all these competitions especially during Christmas time. So we might have 2 varsity tournaments over Christmas, a JV tournament and a girls tournament. And then we have to coordinate all the coaches and then the times that they're not wrestling, we have to have practices for the kids that are not competing and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot, but I mean, I think we have a lot of people that care about the program and care about kids in general. And we want to see them, we're going to coach everyone. Doesn't matter if you're the worst wrestler on the team or the best wrestler on the team, you're all going to get coached. Because we are very team orientated. Because the first thing has always been, and since TAB and even after that, it's always been stressed. Even with John, same thing. The team is the most important thing first, and then individuals. So we wrestle our team season first, and then individual season comes, then you're on to the individual. But you're stressing whatever is best for the team. And the kids buy into it. And I think that's also important because, life lessons, these kids go on, you have to work with people, right? You have to be part of a team in your job. You have to make sacrifices sometimes. So, it's big.
I think back in the day, you guys used to have the, like when Tabby was a coach, it had the big, big team, and then underneath it had a small me.
Yeah.
So it's like the team
That
is
sounds
bigger
like
than
Tab.
me. Yeah. 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 Very basic, but got the point across. So, Dan, do you oversee the girls program as well? Or is there separate coaches for that? Or is it
We
all
have
kind
separate
of...
coach. Well, we have it's all under one umbrella right now, even though they did wrestle the last 2 years, they have been wrestling duels. Like this year was more of a dual season than they've ever had. And our numbers are up. I believe we had 20 girls on the team. So if that grows, we're going to have to figure it out and try to make them their own separate piece because, it's just going to be too much. But Nick Herring was a main person with that. Him and Dean Helstowski, they kind of shifted back and forth. You guys remember Frank Majiri from Lacey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Frankie came in this year and helped out. He was a volunteer and he was very big with the girls also. So I mean, we had people that were volunteers that would be able to step in and help out with the numbers. A lot of shifting going on. So I didn't really oversee the girls as per se, but I was in communication with the coaches that were overseeing that.
And with the girls being new and emerging, where are you seeing? Are you getting kids that aren't coming from girls that aren't coming from other sports? Are they crossing over and coming from maybe playing field hockey or soccer in the fall, or are we now starting to see like kind of the specialization for girls wrestling in New Jersey as well?
I think over the last couple of years, it's been more specialization because some of these girls are. I mean, you see it. I mean, they're young, coming up through the ranks, but you do also have the girls that are playing other sports that never wrestled before that come out. We were very young this year with the girls. I believe we only had one senior on the team, and you know, last year, not this year, but the past year, we had 3 state place winners. And one of the girls unfortunately got injured this year. She was a 4th in the state as a freshman, and she was injured this year, but she couldn't wrestle at the states. But I'm seeing it from both aspects, but I'm just, I see it in the rec. I know the middle school had 9 girls on the team last year, which is the most he's ever had. So I think it's just going to keep growing. And I think you're going to see that crossover from some of the sports, because some of the girls that maybe don't find success in these other sports, they're finding success in wrestling, and they like the competition, the individual competition. I had a girl never wrestled before. She came out this year, and she took 3rd in the short conference tournament for the girls. So I mean, she, it just something that she, maybe they're doing track and they're not the main person in the track, and they just come out, and then all of a sudden they're winning, they're beaten because they're athletic.
Yeah.
So.
And I would imagine some of those alumni are probably having daughters too that are.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Rich, all the track coaches we talked to, they have that director of track and field and cross country. It sounds like Dan is the director of wrestling down at Southern Middle School in the rec program.
Doubt. He keeps pulling out these volunteer coaches too. It was like 45 minutes in, he drops Frankie Magiri's name. It's like, who else we got in there?
Yeah, Coach. So with some of that alumni, and Rich and I know there are a bunch of heavy hitters. You guys have Frank Monolo, who was an Olympian and was an NCAA champ. Does that help having that to show the kids you can do that here? Frank did it just like you guys are.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. I mean, it's he's a 4-time All-American, national champion, Olympian. I mean, it's huge, I believe, because, and it also helps that he comes, they see him at, he comes back for the camp, because he does this pretty much every year, and he still cares about the program. So we talk all the time. Like I talk about how he's doing. He talks about, asks me how I'm doing, and we win something, and I get a text from him, and it's great. And I said, yeah, you got to show it to the kids. Frank just texted me, and a couple times, like when I first took over, like when we were going to our state tournament, I had Frank do like a Zoom call and talk to the kids. Other guys I've done like Glenn Carson, who played football for Penn State and was in the NFL state champion for us. He did that. He came in and talked to the kids. So it's good to see like that caliber of athlete that comes from your school, because like you said, yeah, that's something that they could do. But it's also cool, like, maybe they'll see them on TV, right? And then they'll say, oh, he was just in the gym, helping me. Now he's on TV. So it is pretty cool.
Southern still rules, Rich.
Yeah, no doubt. I was also going to say, with Frank's accolades, he's also the strongest 7th grader I've ever wrestled in my entire life.
Yeah.
Because when he was in 7th grade, we were at Shore Thing. I was helping Jimmy, and he grabbed the hold of me. I was like, how old is this kid? He is so strong.
Yeah.
Coach, I got one last one for you. We're all Region 6 guys on here, and we had Coach Nucci on. He kind of broke down the new classifications and everything. You guys are now in Region 7. What are your thoughts on the reclassifications? And obviously they've broken up A South. Are you a traditionalist? Do you like the new challenges and that sort of stuff?
Let's get to Region 6 first. So I guess, they broke it up because we had so many more teams. They kept on saying how Region 6 had, I believe, like 12 more teams than every other region. So we really had another district. That was the argument. And I know that, during the times where it was just impossible to make it out, it was so tough to make it out of Region 6. Like, you had guys that took 4th, or less that could have went to the States and possibly placed. I mean, I watched actually that episode with Nooch, and he was talking about the weight class where he had a kid in it where he beat the kid. He beat the kid that was a fourth place in the or a place winner at the States. I don't remember what it was, and he didn't even get to go, which I believe that opens up more opportunity for these kids. Like I'll tell you something else. Like when it was Burns, Santos, Van Dyke, I think it was Semper Vivo. I think it was Semper Vivo in that weight class, and it was Franklin Mealy from Southern. And I believe 1, 2, 3 in the state when it was 1, 2, 3. I mean 1 through 3, 2, 3 in the region, 1, 2, 3 in the state. That's how tough it was. I mean, you had kids that were able to go to the States and possibly place, and they weren't able to go because it was so tough. And there's no wild cards because they're not going to say, oh, this region is tougher than the other region or anything like that. So I believe it was a good thing that they broke it up. And you've seen the numbers, you've seen that many more kids that from the shore that go to the state tournament. And it's helping all the programs. I mean, because if you're giving kids more opportunities that would have possibly not made it out, because there's not, like I said before, it's not like you don't have wild cards. Like you look at the Big Ten, right? And there's so many different, what do you get? Like 9 qualifiers plus, big bid, whatever. And it depends on the weight class. So depending on, they're saying, okay, the Big Ten's the best conference, we're getting this many qualifiers. They don't do that with high school wrestling. Mm-hmm. So I believe it helped us out a lot. We moved to Region 8.
Oh, you're Region 8.
Originally. Oh. It was great in Region 8. I loved Region 8. I mean, it was a tough region. Wrestling at Egg Harbor was awesome. It was a great gym. All those teams were great. All those coaches are good guys. And then they moved us to 7, which it's great. Region 7 is great too. I believe, and I'm telling you, the way it's structured now, where they move the Catholics, they got to tweak. I don't know how they're going to tweak that, but I mean, I know that 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, it was us, CBA, St. John Vianney, and Paulsboro all in the same region. So you had 4 teams in the top 10 in the state in the same region, and then then you have other teams that are tough also in Region 7. They have great, and if they don't have the best team, they have great individuals. We had a lot of place winners. So again, I think the way they shuffle it, the date that they shuffle it on, I don't know if they can tweak that, because a Catholic school might get 5 studs in 1 year. They may not be as good. They may get 5 guys transferred to a Catholic school in 1 year. Now they're better than they were, but they're placed in this region. Now you're dealing with that. I mean, we love competition. I mean, we're training for that anyway, but I mean, it does affect a lot of people, Mm-hmm. But I do like the way it has been with that. It just, now they're restructuring where you go every year. Another thing is, with districts, I know there's a problem. There was an issue with people not being able to rest. Like, you find out what district or region you're in, and then you're not able to schedule those teams, and then you don't get the seating at the districts because you don't wrestle them. That's something that could happen. Getting to our division, like we were in A South for years, and there was a time that A South was one of the toughest divisions in the entire state, because you had us, you had Jackson, you had Brick Memorial, you had all the Toms Rivers. There was a couple of years in there that Brick Township was really good also. So it was very competitive, and you get tons of power points from that, because everyone was wrestling, tough competition, and they were good. We heard it's been a little down since. It hasn't been as competitive, A South, for us anyway. It actually hurt us PowerPoint wise the last couple seasons, because those teams weren't carrying as much PowerPoints, and you're also wrestling them, wrestling 5 or 6 matches there. Now we're in another division. It's a tougher division. Teams are better, but now you're only wrestling 4 matches division. And it's tough for us to find matches sometimes, because sometimes, teams don't want to wrestle you. When, again, we're in that situation. That happens to us. The teams don't want to wrestle us sometimes. and so sometimes it's tough finding those duels. So again, we have great competition. Something else that happens is like maybe we're able to get some of those second string guys matches in some of those other matches, when it was old day South, but now we can't, because now it's like we're all competitive. We're wrestling all our guys no matter what. And those guys A South typically had more JV kids. So we were able to get all our JV kids matches because those schools typically had a lot of JVs. You go to these privates, they don't typically have as many JVs. Well, yeah. And then, but Brick Monolo always did, but I'm just saying, that's kind of what I'm seeing. But I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the way it is. It's competitive every year. Keeps us on our toes, and I'm fine with it. I mean, before they moved the divisions, this past year we had wrestled CBA 2 years in a row. The first year we wrestled them, we beat them at our place by a couple points. It was a great match. It was great for wrestling. I believe we had 1,600 people in the stands. Wow. It was unbelievable. It was great for wrestling. You had great kids. You had guys ranking the state place winners wrestling each other. It was a high level match. And I think it was really good for the short conference, really good for wrestling. And then the next year was their place. And it was the same thing. They ended up beating us close, but it was a good match. And I think there was some bad weather and we made sure the match went on, but everyone was at that match. It makes those types of matches happen, so I'm okay with it.
Iron sharpens iron.
Just like Coach Nucci, Rich, he swayed me. I think we might just be old men that are stuck on
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. Coach, I got one last one for you before we get into the Final Four. I wanted to ask this at the beginning of the podcast when you were talking about your origin story and coming up with your brothers.
Yeah.
Did you wrestle your brother Andy in college at the EIWAs?
Yes.
Was that your last college match?
No.
No?
It was not my last college match, but yeah.
How was there any tension after that one? Was it just
it wasn't.
a normal day?
He actually ended up making, he went to NCAAs that year. And, I placed there also, but again, it was just a tough situation. I don't think either one of us really were able to wrestle. It was tough for both of us to wrestle that match. And that was back when, double overtime was the one right out, so again, it was just a shame, like whoever won the person who won the flip ended up winning the match. But, I had to do something that was very difficult. But I was happy for him. Like like he'll even tell you if you ever ask him, like I literally was in the Rutgers room the next week helping him train for nationals. So, it's a tough thing, but you have to, like I said, sometimes things don't go your way. You got to move on, and you got to try to move forward. That almost happened again at NCAAs between Nick and Andy.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Andy's senior year and Nick's sophomore year, because Andy was at Rutgers and Nick was at Michigan. Yeah.
Were you guys training a lot in the summer, or were you guys having to go to your colleges to train?
We would train a lot in the summer. But like even my brother Steven was wrestled for Montclair when they had a program. So again, like, we would always, we would lift, we would train together. Like there were times I went up to Rutgers and wrestled with them in the summer program. There were times that my brother Steve came to East Stroudsburg and wrestled with us. He would come up for the East Stroudsburg Open also when he was wrestling in college. We would kind of be together for that, but and just go into all our different, going to support each other. Like my brother Nick's senior year, I flew out to Michigan like 4 times to watch him wrestle. We flew out to Vegas. So again, always trying to help each other. Always try to be there for each other.
Was there a lot of holes in the walls?
Definitely, man. Yeah. You have no idea, man. It was bad. Doors are coming off the hinges, and it was.
It's like
a lot of food was eaten. you know, make a joke. It was like whoever ate their slice of pizza the first and got it done first, they could have a second piece. You know what I mean? You know, there's only a certain amount of pizza for everybody. You know.
Well, tying it back to Southern,
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest storylines at NCAs this year was the two Stout brothers were wrestling one another. That was Brian's sons, but he was a state champion for Southern. And I mean, that was, again, just as a fan, that was something you don't want to see, of all the people that they could have wrestled in that bracket. Why, can we have figured something out that they got put on the other side of the brackets so they didn't have to wrestle each other right away? But big storyline. Comes back to Southern and some sons of alumni doing some great things.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah.
Coach, is there anything about the program that we didn't speak about that you want to talk about real quick?
I just feel like, no, I mean, I think we've covered pretty much it. You guys have been asking some great questions. I just think it's a great place. And, there's, like I said, there's stuff for everybody there at all levels, education wise, athletic standpoint, support system, all those things. And, it's great. It's a great place to work. It's an unbelievable place to work. And, we have some great people that work there and they care about kids a lot.
Yeah. Go Rams.
Yeah. Go Rams.
Final four, Rich.
Let's do it.
All right.
Coach, are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
How do you brew your coffee and how do you take it?
I take it black and I'll even do espresso sometimes. Occasional latte, but I'll do red eye if I need it. So I'll brew the coffee and I'll get the shot in there. Shot of espresso.
We could hang out, Coach.
Yeah, man, definitely. All the time, drinking coffee.
You drink a Wawa coffee at all?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, but I'm not. I'd rather, I do brew a lot. I got an espresso machine in my office.
Okay.
So
nice.
I've been doing that a lot. But
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dan, do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Dan Roy?
Rituals. I wouldn't say it's a specific thing I do. I mean, I think, just being myself, just going there, just trying to be intense with the kids. Also, try to not just trying to be intense, but also trying to joke around with them a little bit. I mean, but the kids do joke on how intense I do get, but nothing really, because every practice changes every day. So it depends on what we're doing, whether the competition is coming up or not, and we try to train harder earlier in the week and like lighten up as we get to the competition. But the kids do fear the word gauntlet, which are time sprints that we do. So that toughens a lot of them up too.
Okay.
So
okay. You got to be intense. You're fighting for a slice of pizza growing up.
I know.
Can't help it.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
I'm not reading anything right now. I mean, I'll listen to Rogan. I'll listen to Goggins. I mean, just people that have successful people that motivational stuff. Like if you ever feel like you're down in the dumps, or like maybe you're just frustrated or whatever it might be, just trying to get some positive energy, and try to look at motivational quotes. Like on Instagram, I have some things that I follow that have positive quotes. They post positive quotes every day and stuff like that. But like I'm into, it depends on the day, but I'm more of, I like 90s stuff. Like I like grunge. I like punk, I like rock, I like those types of things. So like, I go to a lot. I like going to concerts too. So,
okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Jersey Shore is great for concerts.
Got any
old
on
school.
tap this summer?
I'm going to go see Dropkick Murphy at the Pony.
Nice.
At the Stone Pony. Yeah.
Nice. Summer
Yeah.
stage?
Summer stage, man. I'm there a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Watch out for the guy with the cauliflowers at
I
summer
know.
stage.
I know.
Stay clear of the pit.
Yeah.
Dan, that's what we got for you. It's a lighthearted one here to close it out. Maybe it's something food related. Maybe it's a beverage related. Maybe it's playing golf. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Pizza, man.
Yeah.
Pizza. Yeah. Specialty slices. Like, yeah. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. I'll just be hungry for a slice all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite slice spot?
It varies, man. I'm not too. I don't really have one that I typically go to. I just whatever's available. But Pietro's around the corner from the school. I mean, I like. There's a lot of good places in Monmouth County I like to go to when I'm over there with my family. Yeah.
Did you get a whole pie eaters club from Pete and Elda's back in
Oh
the day
yeah,
once
man.
or twice?
Dude, we do that. We do it every year with the
Oh,
kids.
that's right. You guys did. That's right.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do it every year with the kids. We take them. Yep.
That's awesome.
We all got
That's
the shirt.
awesome. That's
Nice.
awesome.
The secret is to eat 3 slices at the same time. You stack
That's right.
them.
You gotta fold them.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to do it. You trick your mind, man.
Love it.
Coach, thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to join the Airey Bros to talk about Southern Regional Wrestling. I know Rich enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, so thank you so much, and we can't wait to keep on following the Rams.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys. I appreciate what you guys are doing.
We appreciate that. We appreciate you, Dan. Best of luck at the golf outing coming up.
Thanks,
and
man.
best of luck
Appreciate
with
it.
the summer training and the season next year. Airey Bros will be following the Rams.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Dan Roy from Southern Regional High School. Make sure you check those links in the show notes. That is all for us this week. We do appreciate you tuning in and joining us. We will be back next week. Todd Pollock is coming back to tell us about the Sedona 125, fill us in on his race recap on Monday. And then on Tuesday, Wes Miller will be joining us from South Plains Community College. They are the 2025 JUCO Outdoor Track and Field champions. So have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your week.